When you start designing a bike, the first two things you have to consider: what's the purpose of the bike and who is it for? In the case of the Classic Lightweight, I was really inspired by the business I had 10 years ago, which was restoring vintage road bikes from the 50s through to the 70s. And during this time, I really fell in love with the aesthetic of these beautiful steel frames. And I was really inspired by the way they're still on the roads today being used. And they've been used for all sorts of things throughout their lifetime: town riding, touring, road cycling as well. And then they're still going strong. And I thought this was really inspiring because it was in stark contrast to the way most bike companies are these days, which is where they encourage a kind of throwaway upgrade culture. So this directly influenced the design of the Classic Lightweight, which is the first bike that we launched with Temple Cycles. I wanted to design a bike that was light, simple, versatile, really, really fun to ride, but most importantly, a bike that's going to become vintage, a bike for life. Next, it's on to design, and at first you're going to consider materials. As an example, we use Reynolds steel to make all of our frames. And if you design steel well and use the right kinds of proportions, tubing profiles and tubing thicknesses, then you can basically make a frame that rides lovely. It's a very fun material to ride. It's not harsh, it's not stiff, it kind of flexes with you, and you kind of feel really connected to it as well. It basically makes a really comfortable and compliant ride, which you can ride all day. So next up, we're onto the geometry. And this affects how the bike handles and also how it fits. We developed the Classic Lightweight geometry to feel agile yet comfortable with a good amount of stability. Next, it's on to component selection. Now this bit's really, really important. So we only work with component makers which we know and trust and are also really familiar working with. In the case of the Classic Lightweight, we keep things really simple, and we choose components which are universally serviceable all over the world. And that's really, really important in bike design because you can maintain it, you can replace parts, and you can keep it running for as long as possible. Prototyping and testing. This bit's really fun. So we start by making one prototype and we try and get this as close to perfect as possible, and then we iterate from there to make improvements and try and get to the perfect design. Once the final prototype's finalized, it's on to industrial certification. This is carried out externally, and it's a combination of strength and fatigue tests, as well as checking it complies with all the functional safety standards. All of our bikes come with a lifetime warranty, so we need to make sure that they can be made absolutely perfectly. So when you're thinking about this kind of thing, you need to be thinking about dimensions, tolerances, processes, quality control. All of these things can conflict with each other, but if you can get this right and make a product that can be made easily with minimal imperfection, then you're onto a good start. For us, the design process hasn't ended. Now, one of the best ways you can improve your products is by getting feedback from the thousands of riders who are out riding this bike all over the world. They're riding their bikes daily for all sorts of different use cases. And you'll see this because you'll see that the Classic Lightweight has changed in some way from when it was first. I mean, I've got the first frame here. This is literally the first prototype. This is where it all started. And if you were to compare this now to what we've got, to what we sell now, it is different in some ways, and that's all come about from incremental improvements from our customer base. The end result is a bike that people truly love to ride and use every day, and also something which lasts a lifetime, and that's what we're aiming for at Temple Cycles.